Maybe your favorite color is, say, green, but every time you go out shopping for a new piece of furniture, you end up choosing the white chair or the gray sofa. Or maybe you just moved to a new place and even thought about painting over the white walls, but ended up deciding that white was safer. Yes, I've been there too. Whether you prefer colorful interiors or just a pop of color in a neutral room, this video is here to help you break out of this white and gray world and add some more personality to your home through color. So this is how we're gonna do it. Let's first go over some basics of color theory, and then we'll move on to some real hands-on examples to help you apply the theory to the real world. And I'll even share some of my favorite tools to help you along the way. Okay, let's go. Okay, so whether you choose to use it boldly or subtly, color is one of the most powerful tools in interior design. You probably heard stuff like red is often used in restaurants because it stimulates appetite. Or hospitals often use blue and green shades because they bring a sense of serenity and peace. You probably also know that a room with lighter tones tend to appear larger than a room painted dark or that has a lot of dark elements in it. And yes, all of this is true because it has to do with how light interacts with everything that we see and how our brains perceive color. But these concepts should not be used to limit our choices. Your house is not a restaurant or a hospital. So at the end of the day, what really matters is your personal taste, is what makes you feel good, what colors you prefer. So, want to paint a bedroom red? Awesome. Or want to go bold on a tiny powder room? Absolutely. As long as the elements within that room are cohesive and feel comfortable for you, it's a valid choice. But combining multiple colors or shades to create a cohesive and beautiful room is probably the hardest part about it all, right? So just like in music, where you can experience consonant and dissonant chords, colors can intensify and complement or create tension with each other. And some combinations feel natural while others don't seem to work for a specific scenario. So to understand why, let's take a look at the color wheel. In color theory, there are some combinations, or schemes, if you will, that naturally look good to our eyes. So let's take a look at some of the most popular ones that you can use as a starting point. Starting with the monochromatic color scheme. This color scheme uses different shades, tints, and tones of a single color to create a cohesive room. And they also have the power to make the room feel bigger than it actually is, because there's little variation segmenting the space. Analogous colors are groups of 2 to 4 colors that sit next to each other on the color wheel. Because these colors are closely related, you can create contrast by varying their tones and intensity. For instance, an analogous palette of blues and greens might include muted blue-green shades, vivid pure hues, and light blue-green accents. If you want to add a bit more contrast to an analogous scheme, accented analogous color schemes introduce a complementary color opposite the central hue of the analogous group. For example, if the analogous palette includes green, blue-green, and blue, the complementary accent color could be red-orange. The complementary color acts as a vibrant accent, while the analogous hues maintain cohesion. This creates visual contrasts and interest without overpowering the design. Complementary color schemes use 2 colors that are opposite to each other on the color wheel. These pairings have a unique dynamic. One color intensifies the other, they offer the highest contrast, and they always pair a warm color with a cool one. While pure complementary colors are bold and dramatic, muted tones are more practical for interiors. Lastly, I want to mention the triadic color scheme. which consists of 3 colors evenly spaced on the color wheel, such as red, blue, and green. These combinations can range from bold primary colors to softer toned-down variations. Triadic palettes are versatile, offering both high contrast and harmony. In all of these combinations, it is important to keep balance in mind. To prevent the room from feeling overwhelming, it's important to choose one color as the primary one and use the others as accents in less quantity. And also incorporate some whites, grays, and neutral tones if you don't want the results to be too bold. Alright, so I'm gonna have to put this right here, hopefully. Okay. Alright, so after hearing about all the theory, you might be thinking, okay, I don't want a blue room with orange accents. I want something more neutral. Or I have to work around stuff that I already have. I don't want to buy everything brand new. And what about all the other elements besides paint? Yeah, well, I know this is how I felt when I first started learning about color interior design. It can be overwhelming. So now let's take a look at some examples in real rooms, real world scenarios. And I'll go through my process of defining the colors for a certain space, and I'll share some of my favorite tools to help you visualize the overall design before making any decisions. Alright, let's go. Let's start with this picture here of a living room that I found online. Yes, it's a beautiful space. It has a lot of the right elements, but there's basically no color here, except for the green of the plants, and the other elements are basically beige and brown, which are neutral colors. So let's say I'm tired of the neutrals and I wanted to add some more color to this living room. I love green, and this is true, green is my favorite color, so I'll start with it. And so I can do that by painting some of the walls. Let's say for me this works. I'm willing to paint some walls, so I'll start with that. So this is one of the most important aspects of this whole process, is to visualize your choices. Usually I do that using Photoshop, but I know many people don't have access to Photoshop or even are not willing to learn Photoshop, only to, check if this color will look good in your living room or not. But not to worry, we're gonna use other tools here, free tools that you can find online. For example, Behr has an amazing color visualizer tool, and it's free. And you can upload your picture through their website and actually simulate different shades of their color options in your room. So I'm gonna upload a photo and I'm gonna choose this beautiful living room that we're gonna work on. Okay, so here we have it. And now what we're gonna do is we're gonna add some greens here. I already have some listed here because I've been playing around, but you can add all sorts of different tones and hues from their collection. Let's do this one. Let's maybe try something lighter. So after selecting a couple of different options, let's try this lighter tone first and click the walls I want to paint. And that's it. It's amazing actually. But this looks a little bit too light for me. So let's try the opposite, this rich dark tone. Yeah, this one looks a bit darker than I was expecting. Let's try this one. This is a little bit too bright for my taste. Let's try something more neutral. Yeah, I like this one. I think it goes well with the brown of the sofas. Yeah, this looks good. Tuscany hillside. So that will be my first choice of paint. I'll go for this shade of green for both of these walls that define the living room area. So in this scenario, neutrals still dominate the room. Green is just a pop of color I used on the walls. And in this specific situation, I could just add some green cushions to the sofas and call it a day. But I want to add some more personality to this room, okay? So green is not the only shade that I'm going to use for this decor. And I think the rug is an obvious choice here to do that, because there's no rug in this living room, and it's desperately calling for one. So I'm gonna use the rug to add another tone here. Now, in order to choose the color of the rug, I'm gonna need some help of the color wheel. And for that, I'm gonna use the Figma color wheel tool. And this is an amazing tool to play around with different color schemes and different combinations that can work for your space. So let's start by adding the green that we chose for the walls here. And I'll just play around with the color wheel until I'm happy with the tone that I see here for the green of the paint. So as you can see here, the tool has a pick a palette type option. And so you can choose complementary, split, monochromatic, and then you can apply the theory to the real world. And so for the specific room that we're working on, I'm gonna go with the triadic color scheme here. And so based on the tool here, I'm seeing a very interesting shade of blue and some purple, a reddish purple tone as well. So when I'm looking for a rug and other accessories, I'm gonna look for these shades. So with this information, I'm gonna go ahead and show you another great tool that I love, which is the Rugs Direct Room Visualizer. Even if you're not planning to purchase a rug from them, this is an amazing way to test different kinds and different colors of rugs for your space. And as you can see, based on the image, the tool already suggests some rugs. But since we already know that we want some kind of blue on the rug, I'm gonna go ahead and select blues from the filters menu. And then we have all these different options to test for this space. So let's try this one. Okay, so I don't love this option here. I don't think like an entire blue rug would be the best option because as you can see, it's almost as there's the same amount of green and blue in this room. And as we saw previously, balance is very important. So I just want a little bit of blue, but not too much. So let's keep looking and keep testing some options. Okay, this one maybe works. I'm seeing some blues and some reds. It's just a pop of red. That's not exactly in the palette that we saw previously, but it connects very well with the sofa and the wood tone of the coffee table. So this might work, but it comes down to personal preference. When you're doing this exercise, just keep looking, keep trying until you find the one that you prefer. So I'll just go with this one. And if this was my living room, I would be pretty happy with these results. I have added 3 more colors to this room, which is the green of the walls and some blue and a touch of red through the rug. If you wanted to add even more color, you could switch some of these cushions here for blue ones or even red and green ones. But for me, this would be my final result. If this was my living room and if I didn't want to sell anything or replace anything, this is what I would do. All right, so let's take a look at another example. This is the living room that we're gonna work with. This room is a classic example of the gray interior. It's begging for some more personality. I know some people prefer white walls, so we're gonna keep the walls white for this example. But as you can see, the walls in this living room, they are actually gray. They're not exactly white. And this contributes for the room to feel cold. So I'm gonna change this gray for a warmer tone of white in the Behr visualizer tool. And this already looks much better, in my opinion. So let's again start with the rug. It's one of the largest elements within the room. So I like to consider the rug as one of the first steps. So I'm gonna use the Rugs Direct visualizer again. And since the flooring has a cool undertone, I think I'll just go with a warm rug to bring even more coziness. Yeah, I'm thinking a jute rug is a great option here. It will be a neutral base that isn't too boring because it has a lot of texture. So, okay, let's go with this one. So remember, it is important that the rug is large enough for your space and that every piece of furniture should be entirely on the rug, or at least the front legs of the furniture piece should be on the rug. So here we have the sofa and its front legs are on the rug. So we have the right size. This is our base for this space. For this room, for this example, I'm gonna use another tool that can help you visualize the options, and that is a good alternative to Photoshop. Canva is an amazing tool for a lot of different purposes actually. You can do all sorts of digital design with it. It's also an amazing tool to help you visualize examples such as this one. So let's go ahead and create a new document, and I'll just upload my picture. So with this neutral starting point, we're basically free to add whichever color we want. Based on what I see here, a pair of chairs would be great to frame this living room and to fill this awkward space that we have. And since we have the blue cushions on the sofa, I'll quickly look for a good combination using the color wheel tool. This one looks good to me. We're gonna use the split color scheme, which is almost identical to the accented analogous option that I showed previously. Since we have the blue on the cushions, we're gonna look for some muted oranges or copper tones and a touch of green as well for this space. So let's start with the chairs. I'm gonna look for some orange chairs or something around these tones. And for this step, you can just browse the internet or your favorite furniture store. So I found this one that I really like and I think it would work here. And we're in luck because on their website they have several different angles of the same chair, which is amazing for visualizing, as you will see in a moment. So let's take this angle here and I'm gonna screenshot this chair and paste it over in Canva. If you're using Canva Pro, you have the option of removing the background, and that will be even better. But not to worry, we can just keep the background, the white background. It's just to give us an idea of how this would look in this space. So I'm gonna flip this and we're gonna use two of the same chair. These chairs already brought so much interest to this room. I love it. So next thing I'm gonna look for is a replacement for this coffee table, which I'm not a fan of. Let's try and find something more interesting. I'm thinking something round. I love this coffee table from CB2. It's just so pretty, and look at the texture from the wood grain. It's so nice. So I'm gonna go with this one. It's gonna go behind our chairs. Let's scale to size and then we can pretend that the old coffee table is not there. We already added some orange and we also have some blue and a lot of neutrals. So I'm thinking green for an artwork here for this empty wall. So I'm just gonna look for a green picture or wall art. This one actually might work. It has blue and it also has green. So let's see how it goes. I think it works. But again, this comes down to personal preference. You might not like this artwork, and that's okay. But in terms of color, I think it works. It has blue and it has green, and it speaks well to the rest of the room. So I'm just gonna leave it there. And next step, I'll definitely would change this floor lamp on the corner. This room deserves better. So I'll look for a more interesting lamp. I personally love arc lamps. I think they are very interesting. So I'm gonna look for an arc lamp. Oh, this is gorgeous. I love this. From CB2. So for this one, it has a huge background. So let's just pretend that it doesn't. I'll just crop the photo so we can pretend that it's behind the sofa. I can live with that. So I love that this lamp brings a touch of elegance with the black finish. I just like to add something black to almost every room because I think it really contributes to the sense of something modern and cool. So yeah, I love this lamp. To finish it off, I think we need something here on this corner. Let's try a side table. I think I'll go with something black as well to speak with the lamp. Let's go with this one. I think it will work. And maybe, yeah, a vase here. And so now I'll just remove the backgrounds and add some accessories to this room, and I'll be right back to show you the final results, just so you can have a full picture of how this room would look like. Okay, so here's the final result. A bit more refined on Photoshop, and yeah, I really like the results. I think this living room looks and feels a lot more intentional and inviting. So yeah, hopefully you like it too. What do you think? I also need to mention that Pinterest is another tool that I love to use all the time for some inspiration on color and so much more actually. It's usually the first thing that I do when I start a new project. If I have nothing in mind, I will go on Pinterest and just start browsing. I have the habit of scrolling through Pinterest at least once a week and save some of my favorite pictures so I can have them as a reference later. But you can also use it to search for specific things. So for instance, if you'd like to keep the walls white and maybe your flooring is like black or dark, you can go on Pinterest and just type white walls, dark floors, and you will have so many different inspiration pictures of homes with white walls and dark floors, and maybe you will even find a nice color palette right then and there. Same thing when you have like a piece of furniture that you don't want to sell or replace. For example, you have a blue sofa. You go on Pinterest and you type blue sofa living room, and you will have so many different inspiration pictures of light blue sofas, dark blue sofas, and all sorts of different color palettes that people already tested in their homes. So I just love Pinterest as like this starting point for creativity. So to sum it all up, here's the general idea of a process that I would apply to define the colors of a room. First step, analyze the room and define the elements that you'd like to keep and the ones that can go. This will be your starting point. Number 2, gather some inspiration and reference pictures of the vision that you like to achieve. Pinterest is an amazing tool to do that. By now, you should have a rough idea of a color palette that you'd like to use, or at least the main color that you'd like to include. You should also know if the base of the room would be neutral or more colorful. So for the next step, with the main color defined, you can play around with the color wheel and the different color schemes and define a color palette that you would like to use. And based on the colors that you find in the color wheel, you can shop around for different pieces of furniture and accessories. And for this step, the tools that I showed are very valuable. So you can use the rug visualizer, the Paint Visualizer and Canva to help you with a visual representation of what you will actually get. So you just play around with the possibilities until you're satisfied, and that's pretty much it. So there you have it. I hope that some of these tips help you create a home that brings you joy with more confidence that you're making the right choices. If you like the video, please leave a like and consider subscribing to the channel for more home decor related content. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next time.